Stop thinking that Jalen Hurts is good.
Washington in this division right now is more of a threat than the Dallas Cowboys.
Did you know that it has been 20 years since we have seen back-to-back NFC East champions? And that streak probably isn't going to get snapped this year. At least it's not looking like it's going to get snapped as of today. And I brought one of my good friends and diehard Washington Commanders fan who are sitting at the top of the NFC East as of today to have a conversation about the outlook in the division so far. We went team by team, from the Giants to the Cowboys to the Eagles to the Commanders. We talked about where their seasons are going and how we think this season is going to end in the NFC East. It was an interesting conversation. I always have a great time every time I talk to Scotty. So let's get into the talk. But first, just one quick reminder. If you guys are NFL fans and you've never met me before, hi, I'm NFLMike. I'm an NFL content creator that creates NFL content 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and twice on Sundays. I'd really appreciate it. If you're an NFL fan, you'll also really love the channel and all the NFL content that I produce on here. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Before we get into this conversation, I'm on a mission to talk to every football fan on the internet. So if you're a football fan, you want to come on one of these shows and chop it up with Mike, the invitation is open to everyone. All right, let's get into the conversation with my friend Scotty about the NFC East. Let's talk about the current outlook in the NFC East. This division every year, Scotty, is one of the most interesting divisions because it just seems like you never can predict it. And well, here we are again. Let's chat about each team. I'm going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with the Giants. What are your take on the Giants through 4 weeks? I actually have some bright spots I didn't expect to see out of New York, but yeah, I'll tell them after. Go ahead.
No, so they drafted Neighbors. That guy is an absolute stud. He would scare me for a Rookie of the Year versus Jayden Daniels if he wasn't on such a horrible team. Neighbors is good, but he's playing in a dumpster fire. I can see the coach Dable getting fired at the 3/4 of the way season. I could just see them downfalling with a top 3 pick. I am not scared of the New York Giants at all. Neighbors is the only bright spot. Nobody else on the team lights it up, and they still have Daniel Jones.
I think that's a pretty good take right there. I think the one other bright spot other than Neighbors is pretty obvious. I think he's the next Justin Jefferson. He's the next Jamar Chase. He's the next OBJ. If, like you're saying, they can figure out the passing game and the quarterback specifically. I think we're going to see a new coach in there next year, so who knows? Depending on what coach it is, I have a sneaky suspicion that the Giants are, they're definitely a place where Bill Belichick could land, or one of these other coaches that are kind of waiting for a job in the NFL, because coaches are souring on college football. I think we're about to just see a migration. Everyone's coming to the NFL with the new NIL deals, so that's a whole different topic. The other bright spot, I think, for the Giants, this is why I think, and I want to predict it right now, so that way I have it on record when it happens, that Bill Belichick's going to go to the Giants. I think that the front seven looks way better than I thought they would. Like, I kind of was iffy on this Thibodeau-Brian Burns duo. I never thought Brian Burns was that next top-level edge rusher, one of the best in the league still, maybe edge a top 10 guy, but not that max him out, Myles Garrett-style pass rusher level player. Kayvon Thibodeau, I've been a fan of. Some reason it hasn't quite fully gelled in the NFL. You see the bright spots there. This year, they look good, and they have kept them in games by themselves, those two guys. So that is the other bright spot for the Giants. Let's go here to the current third-place team in this division. Last year's champs. The Philadelphia Eagles got all kinds of problems. Scotty, do you think they're going to figure this shit out?
I got to be honest, right? I am a huge Washington fan. I love it. I want to see the Eagles keep sailing down through a tree. They miss superstars A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They are both game changers. They did not miss one game changer. They missed 2 game changers. Devontae Smith would be a number 1 wide receiver on most teams. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. They are my number 1 team in the division at the season's end. I still feel they win the division. Okay. I think their team is just overall better than everyone else in the division. But, I mean, I'll have more predictions as we get going on to this episode. But the Eagles are going to sail their way up. back into the air and do pretty well because their team is way too good. Saquon Barkley actually looks incredible as long as he stays healthy. Keep those calves in line. But I think the Eagles will be back on the right path.
I have a note here. It's funny that you said it, how stacked the Eagles are. I have it here, top to bottom, when you look at their depth chart when they're healthy. Maybe the most loaded and stacked offense in the NFL. And definitely, I think, in the division now with what Dallas has done. And I think the Commanders are getting closer, but they don't have Saquon Barkley. They don't have A.J. Brown level. They don't have that on that roster when they're fully healthy. It's just like they're overcomplicating everything. And it's kind of weird because I thought the Eagles were going to win this division and the NFC at the beginning of the season because of the Saquon Barkley acquisition. I expected it to, like, for one, take the rushing attack to an unstoppable level, which kind of has. That hasn't been completely wrong. But two, I expected it to kind of mask some of Jalen Hurts' deficiencies as a passer. And I expected it to kind of mask some of the defensive and definitely secondary and pass rush issues that they had towards the end of last year. But it's only glorified them. It's only made them worse because Saquon Barkley is dominating on the ground to a point that teams have to load the box, to a point that Kellen Moore has to call pass plays. And Jalen Hurts is turning the ball over. Jalen Hurts is making all kinds of bad plays, which is then giving the ball to the other team's offense. And now their secondary's up, and that's getting exposed. So the Saquon acquisition has worked out tremendously. And I'm with you. I think the Eagles are going to win this division. I think it's going to be by one game now. I didn't think that before. I think it's going to be a battle to the end now. But they need to stop overcomplicating this. And they need to just get behind Jalen Hurts, get behind Saquon Barkley. Stop thinking that Jalen Hurts is good in the pocket. He is not. That is very clear at this point. That's been his weakness since day one. If they simplify things and they get behind this O-line and they stop turning the ball over, they will still win 11 games this year, 12 games this year, just because of how good the offense is once they get back out there. But if they keep overcomplicating things, they keep asking Jalen Hurts to be Joe Burrow, you're going to continue to lose, and the Commanders are going to win this division. and the train just keeps on spinning with the NFC East, never getting a back-to-back win. But let's talk about last year's champions, because I actually messed that up. It wasn't the Eagles last year. Last year's champions was the Dallas Cowboys. I think they have a much more grim outlook at 2-2 than the Eagles. But what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think, first of all, they started the offseason with such headaches and drama going on within CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott's contracts. You got Zeke Elliott, who literally gets hurt through the tackle machine. So, like, they're on the Commanders and Dallas are on meeting in the middle, but one's going down and one's sailing up. And they're going to pass each other. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are sailing down, Washington's sailing up, and Washington in this division right now is more of a threat than the Dallas Cowboys.
And yeah, that's something that's crazy too. Is I'm patting my back a lot on this episode. Maybe this is why we're actually having the show. But I had the Cowboys at 9-8 this year. I had the Commanders at 9-8 this year, and everyone acted like I was a lunatic on both those takes. Too low on the Cowboys, too high on the Commanders. And here we are, maybe too low on the Commanders, too high on the Cowboys. In opposite. The worries that I had in the preseason, they turned out to be true. I didn't believe in the defense to be the same with Mike Zimmer at the helm versus Dan Quinn. I've never been a giant Mike Zimmer fan. I have seen his defenses, and he's been in the league for as long as he's been for a reason. I think he can field a good defense, but with young guys that are trying to prove something, that are saying, yes, sir, no, sir, going out there and playing old school football the way Mike Zimmer likes to coach football, not Micah Parsons. And all of this talk, all of this stuff on the podcast, it's only making it worse. Micah Parsons brought Darius Slay on his podcast today. You think Jerry Jones likes that? You think Mike McCarthy, Mike Zimmer, they cheer that? If you're an ultimate competitor, how dare you? How dare you bring one of the Eagles defenders, one of their best players, on your podcast mid-season? If it was the offseason, I wouldn't cheer it still.
Rivals.
But he's doing it mid-season. And I just never thought that Zimmer was going to gel with these guys, and it's not gelling. You clearly tell, to a point that I think that there's a risk that Micah might want out eventually. Because he's the only one that's not signed. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they took that run game for granted all those years, man. They invested in the O-line. They always invested in the running back position. You got Zeke, we're going to add Tony Pollard. You just keep it going. Forever. DeMarco Murray, you can just keep it going back. Emmitt Smith, forever. They finally slacked on that. They finally got a little bit lackadaisical with replacing Tyron Smith with somebody a few years ahead of time. They got lackadaisical with finding a good Zeke replacement because we all knew it wasn't Tony Pollard since the beginning. And if Jerry didn't think that, then Jerry just doesn't know as much as the common freaking football fan at this point in his old senile career. Like, it's clear what's going on with the Cowboys because Dak is playing at the same level Dak always plays. He's always been like an average franchise quarterback that'll give a stacked team easy wins. And they don't have a stacked team anymore like they used to. They have a team that is looking eye to eye with a lot of their opponents when it comes to talent for talent on this roster, and everything's getting exposed. And the timing of it, like you're saying, it couldn't be worse. You just signed this team. You just signed them.
I know.
Weeks ago. We're talking
lots of money.
Like, this is bad. This is bad. There's no way out on Dak. He is their quarterback going forward for 3 years now. Like, the path to improvement for the Cowboys is a rebuild, and that's what I think is about to happen. And that's why I suspect that Micah could be seeing the writing on the wall that he's on his way out. It ain't gonna be there. And Michael wants to go to the Eagles probably, and it ain't gonna be there. So we'll see. I don't think the Cowboys will trade him to either spot over Jerry Jones's dead body. But let's finish this off here, Scotty. The last team currently in first place at 3-1, your Washington Commanders. Go ahead. We already talked about Jayden Daniels to death on another episode that dropped earlier in the week. So keep in mind that these viewers might not have caught that, and give them your take on the Commanders so far in 4 games.
Well, the Commanders are going to have the Rookie of the Year. The Commanders are going to have arguably the top 5 quarterback in the league, the best quarterback in the division. He's better than Daniel Jones. Nobody can argue that. Come on, Giant fans, put it in the comments. I don't want to hear it. Dallas Cowboys, I'm sorry, dude. Dak got paid. He's not better than Jayden Daniels. And Jalen Hurts, you have a stacked team. You can't throw the ball in the pocket. You know who can? Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels. I actually loved Mike's pick with the 9-8 record. I think they slip into the wild card. An early exit because they do have a lot of question marks. That's the only reason they're not going to win the division, in my opinion. I think Washington still needs a lot of help in the secondary. I think a Davante Adams edition would be awesome. Hopefully by the time this clip goes out, I'm celebrating that. But a Davante Adams edition would be good. Terry McLaurin needs another wide receiver. We need secondary. But Jayden Daniels, I think, with this hype of how good he's playing this year, gets them into a wild card spot in second place in this division.
The timing would be perfect, right? With the rookie contract, you're paying Terry, Devontae's being paid, but the timing of it would be Devontae would be like mid-30s when it's time to pay Jayden Daniels. So you can kind of pivot there and go, all right, either Devontae take a pay cut and keep playing, or we got to go a different direction. The contracts and everything makes sense for Washington to be ballsy here after these first 4 weeks.
And Washington has the money to do it. And like you just said, by the time the contract,
I just think of those Bengals, man. I think of those Bengals that went all the way when I think of situations like this.
Yeah, it's not far off. You got the LSU quarterback, and if you get Davante Adams, you got the T. Higgins and the Chase. Davante Adams and Terry McLaurin would be. I'm crying.
It would be nuts.
I'd cry.
It would be nuts.
Cry.
It would be exciting, and I think that if they did make that move, maybe that will push me over the edge too, to kind of be like, you know what? Just forget they have the worst secondary in the NFL, and let's just hope that Montez Sweat isn't even on the team anymore, right?
We got Bobby Wagner.
There you go. Let's hope these guys can get after the quarterback enough for Jayden Daniels to just score 30 each week and get the Commanders into first in this division, because here it is right here. 2023, the Cowboys won it with 12 wins. 2022, the Eagles won it with 14. Back to the Cowboys in 2021. Washington in 2020. 2019, Philly again. Dallas in 2018. 2017, Philly. 2016, Dallas. 2015, Washington. 2014, Dallas. 2013, Philly. 2012,
We're the Giants. We're the Giants.
The Giants go 9-7 and win the Super Bowl, right as you say that. 2010, Philly. 2009. I could keep going into the early 2000s, y'all. For 20 years, every year, a new team has won this division. And it's looking like this year, so far at least, we're going to have it happen again. If they get Devontae Adams, I'm in fully. I'm in.
No,
right now, I'm taking the Eagles to win the division, which will keep this streak alive. But
no, if they get Devontae Adams, new show if they get Devontae Adams. Changing picks.
We'll be back. We'll just delete this one and re-record it if they get Devontae Adams. I appreciate you again, Scotty, for coming on. Everything that Scotty does is going to be in the link in the description, y'all. I plugged it in the intro as well when I could do some research and prepare it and list it and everything for you, Scotty. I thank you so much for coming on to this week's segment and making 2 appearances. Thank you again. Anything else to say to the people before we go?
Well, I appreciate Mikey. Been working with him for a couple years. Go Washington. And you know what? Go Chargers.
Oh,
both up.
Maybe we can see each other. Yeah, there you go. Hail to the Commanders. There you go. A little truce. Truce. We could both go to the Super Bowl.
That'd be awesome.
That's what we'll go for. All right, everyone. Make sure you guys comment. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Will we see this Washington versus Los Angeles Super Bowl that me and Scotty are dreaming of from this moment till the day that we die? You guys sit around later. The ball definitely won't lie. And that rhymed. Thank you for tuning in to another NFL Mike video. Now it's time to go make more football friends or go and compete in the Mike's Pickems Challenge or against me in daily fantasy football challenges by joining my completely free NFL group chat. Or head to fifthdown.shop and check out and see if we got your team's newest designs. Or now you can simply rep your favorite players without having to wear another team's gear. And then tag us in pictures of you wearing your Fifth Down merch for a shout out in the next episode of NFL Mike's Corner. And help us reach our goal of getting 1,000 NFL fans wearing Fifth Down. Or you can head to the next NFL Mike video by clicking it. It's on your screen. Go ahead.